everybody, and welcome to week 3 of Greek mythology. I know we didn't have one of these last week, or the week before that, and that's because it's increasingly difficult to make weekly videos while doing these classes, but I really hope I can get back on track and give you guys some good content. I do have stuff in the works, so stay tuned. I know that Ruben also does, but for now, this is what we're going to be doing, and for the third week of Classical Mythology 170, we covered creation. Now, there are two creations. There are two different versions of the creation. There is Ovid's, and Ovid is a Roman, and that was later on. And then there is Hesiod, who was a Greek writer, and his is earlier. So we're going to be going over both of them, but for right now, I'm just going to be discussing Hesiod's Theogony. So Hesiod, in his lifetime, wrote 3 books. He wrote Theogony, Works and Days, and The Shield of Heracles. I don't know anything about The Shield of Heracles, but The Works and Days is just a poem about the life and times of Hesiod. Theogony, on the other hand, is also a cosmogony. It is a creation of the universe and the succession of the gods, where all the gods came from and their stories. And this is where we get almost all of our creation imagery when it comes to Greek mythology. Now, Hesiod didn't make up whole cloth these myths that exist in the text. He was copying down oral traditions. And although sometimes you might be able to pick out where he put in his own opinion, he didn't just make it up whole cloth. These were already existing traditions. He starts off his Theogony with an invocation to the Muses, and we're going to talk about the Muses later, but the Muses are the 9 daughters of Zeus, and I'm sure you've seen them in pop culture everywhere. They give the inspiration for art and literature, and it came to be that they were also seen as inspiration for pretty much any discipline. They were described as being able to make people forget their sorrows. So that's nice. Keep in mind, there are going to be plenty of contradictions and inconsistencies within Hesiod's text. I can't really explain it. Maybe if we had some Greek religion apologists, that'd be interesting. But we don't have that, to my knowledge. So you're not really going to get much. But anyway, it starts off with 115 lines as the invocation of the Muses. He is pretty much calling upon them to be able to write his story. So we begin with his creation. So in the beginning, there was only chaos. And from chaos came Gaia, and that's the earth. Also from this chaos came Nyx, the night, and Erebos. And Erebos is the night in Tartarus. Tartarus was the underworld, and that also came out of the chaos. And the last thing to come out of chaos was desire, Eros. That's a love, basically. So out of chaos came Nyx, Erebos, Gaia, Tartarus, and Eros. Then Gaia alone was able to create Uranus, the sky, mountains, and Pontus, the sea. Now, there's a huge genealogy, and I'm not really going to be able to cover the entire thing, but the basic point, or the very important one, is that Gaia and Uranus, so the earth and the sky, birthed the Titans. And they were like the primordial gods, but you wouldn't exactly call them gods. They were referred to as Titans, but we'll get into that. They're all divine beings, though. That's for certain. So of the Titans, Kronos was the last to be born. Now, Uranus was incredibly paranoid. He thought that one of his sons would dethrone him. He would be taken over and lose his power. There were 2 other main groups of creatures to be born. There were the Hecatoncheires, which were these 100-handed monsters, and the Cyclopes, or just Cyclopses in colloquial speak. So, because Uranus was super paranoid that he would lose power, he locked the gods and all the other creatures inside Gaia. He wouldn't let them be born, basically. They were just trapped inside of Tartarus. Out of all the children that they had, Kronos was the last to be born. And Gaia favored him and actually created a sickle by which he can castrate Uranus. So there's this really famous image of Kronos castrating Uranus, and as you can see, it depicts Uranus on the ground and Kronos about to chop his dick and balls off. So once Kronos does this, he throws the dick into the ocean, and the blood lands on the ground. So a lot of weird stuff comes out from this. So when the blood fell on the earth, it created the giants, the Furies, and nymphs. And the dick that fell in the ocean created this foam, and from that foam came Aphrodite. Now, the amount of children that the Titans actually had is huge, and I can't possibly name them all, specifically because two of them, Oceanus and Tethys, had 6,000 kids, and these were the Oceanids. Thea and Hyperion had Helios, Selene, and Eros. There was also Styx and Pallas. There was Phoebe and Koios. There was obviously Kronos and Rhea, who birthed the Olympians, Hestia, Demeter, Hades, Hera, Poseidon, and Zeus. There was also Iapetus and Clymene, who had Prometheus, Epimetheus, and Atlas. So, like I said, there's a bunch of them, and I can't possibly name them all. Obviously, we're going to be talking about way more through this series and talking more in depth about some of the stories, but that should be enough of a baseline for now. So after all of the children are released and the Earth can basically truly be born, we have the continuation of the Uranus story. So just like Uranus was incredibly paranoid that one of his children would take over, and as we can see, he was right, his son, Kronos, the guy who took over, was also paranoid. So when he was having his children with Rhea, he actually was swallowing them as she was giving birth to them. Now, in order to save her youngest, Zeus, she decided to trick Kronos, and she gave Kronos a rock wrapped in bandages or linen, but it was wrapped up so he couldn't tell that he was actually eating a rock and not a child. So in order for Zeus to be able to grow up and actually overthrow his father, just as Kronos overthrew his, he would have to be sent somewhere. And Rhea decided to send him to Crete, to a cave where he would be raised by nymphs. Eventually, when he's older, he comes back and forces Kronos to vomit up his children. And along with this, he releases the Titans, the Hecatoncheires, and the Cyclopes. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I know it was kind of short, but I really do hope you guys liked it. If you like what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon. If you don't want to continuously give us money, consider buying a shirt on Teespring. We have lots of great stuff there, I think. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can also go to our website, MilwaukeeAtheists.com, where you can ask us whatever and have conversations amongst yourselves. Also, if you are catching this video early, I will be on the Drunken Peasants on Saturday, this Saturday, on the 20th. So if you're early enough, definitely go watch me on the Drunken Peasants on Saturday, and I will see you guys later.